We are going to record this in case anybody is interested in watching it later. My name is Greg Smith, Executive Director of the Florida Literacy Coalition. I'm joined today by my colleague, Dana Williams, our ESOL Program Coordinator, and she also takes the lead on this particular initiative. And if we can pull the slides up, that would be great. What we're going to be doing today is just giving you a little bit of a brief overview of an opportunity that we're very pleased to make available again this year. This is our third cycle of grants that we're able to make available through the generous support of the Kislak Family Foundation. We received word last month that they are renewing the grant that supports a couple of projects here at FLC. And this is the biggest among those projects, which is an initiative to support family literacy grants at a local level. So we're going to talk with you a little bit about family literacy today, and also about the grant application, grant opportunity, and open it up for questions. It's scheduled for 45 minutes. I don't think it'll run that long, but we definitely we're here. If you do have any questions, you can add them to the chat, or we will open up the mics a little bit later, or ask you if you're interested in sharing or asking your question verbally. I do see here we have a few people who are current grant recipients, so we'd love to hear from you a little bit later too, if you wouldn't mind saying a few words about your experience as a grant recipient under this initiative. We'd certainly appreciate that. So if we can go ahead and move to the first slide, or the next slide. So with respect to family literacy, and the need that is the foundational element to why we do these programs. We just pulled a few statistics here. Wanted to share them with respect to the need here in Florida in particular. We have an estimated, according to the most recent data that's state specific, about 24% of adults here in Florida perform at the lowest literacy skill level. 35% perform at the lowest numeracy level. And so if you take that and you combine it with sort of some of the academic challenges that children are facing, you see a statistic there on poverty levels, and children from families that live in poverty or near poverty are certainly disproportionately affected by parents who have less than a high school diploma and have literacy challenges themselves quite often. We certainly have a significant number of people who are foreign-born residents here in Florida as well, attending our ESOL program. So this family literacy can be a great fit for ESOL programs as well. And I think this fourth statistic is probably sort of at the heart of why we really think these programs can make a big difference. And this is from some research that showed that a mother's reading level, and it's parents, but mothers in particular, that a mother's reading skill is the greatest factor in her children's future academic success. So those foundational elements, parents as their children's first and most important teachers, are really important. And these programs really help give parents some tools and skills to really help support their children's success in schools. Next slide. Along those lines, a few other data points here. U.S. adults with low levels of education, who have parents with low levels of education, I should say, are 10 times more likely to have low skills themselves. So there's an intergenerational component here that's really important to recognize, and these programs take that on head on. And so, really trying to break that intergenerational cycle. These programs, at the heart of it, when they're done well, they bring a lot of children's literature into the home. So you can see a few statistics here that there's a direct correlation between the reading scores and in the the extent, sort of a common sense thing, I guess, that children have access to books and books in their home, and parents who read to their children at a young age and engage their children in regular story time and reading activities, that really pays off. Children who are read to at least 3 times per week by a family member are almost twice as likely to score in the top 25% of reading. So getting that early Head Start is really important. There are programs out there like Head Start, but a lot of it happens right in the home. And this is where family literacy really comes into play. Next slide. Impact of family literacy programs. Here's just some of the potential impacts that family literacy programs, well-constructed family literacy programs have. Breaking that cycle, as I mentioned earlier, supporting parents being supported as their children's first and most important teachers. And really the spectrum is anything from sort of helping children with their own academic performance to really helping parents and caregivers develop skills that allow them opportunities in life, job skills, employment opportunities, and so forth. So it really runs the gamut. Next slide. Some additional benefits to children and adults. You can see they're numerous. It doesn't mean you have to check all these boxes if you're starting a program up, but these are just some areas that research and practice have shown can result from well-constructed family literacy programs, helping children with their academic skills, improve their literacy and language skills in the home, in writing skills. I think part of it is really sort of modeling for kids. If you're in a program, that's what's really cool about family literacy, that it's a holistic approach. So parents and caregivers and children are in the programs together, and education is a family activity, so that you really see, I think kids see their parents engaged in this kind of thing, and that really speaks volumes. And so as they're kind of looking at kind of learning together in certain ways, and we'll kind of talk a little bit here in a minute about sort of how that looks in family literacy, and we have some folks who are practicing it on the ground right here, and we can hear from them as well. But you can see there's numerous benefits to both the adults who are involved in family literacy as well as the children. Next slide. So our grants that we're making available, we'll have 6 grants this year of up to $6,000 to provide resources to schools and education programs to either develop a family literacy program or expand upon an existing family literacy program. Mm-hmm. Next slide. I did want to emphasize this piece because we have a definition of family literacy that may not be consistent with all programs that identify themselves as family literacy. So family literacy is a term that's pretty widely used in various contexts. And there's some really good programs out there that are doing things that don't involve parents quite as much and probably would not qualify for this particular grant. This grant really does require that folks, the programs have a strong adult education component. That could be adult literacy, GED instruction, ESL, and so forth. Then there are age-appropriate activities for children as part of it. And then parents and children coming together to do interactive literacy activities, or what we traditionally call pack time. So all 3 of these components really need to be part of a successful application through this particular grant. I mean, this is not to say that other programs aren't worthy of being supported and aren't doing good work. They are, that are maybe more children's focused and don't emphasize the adult component as much. But this one really does have to have a strong adult component as part of it. Next slide. Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dana to talk with you a little bit more about the application. But before we do that, are there any questions? Hey, Dana, go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you. So these are some of the basics of the application. And I will go to our website that has more specifics that you can find the guidelines, the application, and the deadline for this application is April 23rd. So we have about a month before the deadline. And this is our sort of landing page for this initiative. And on this page, you'll find the link for the jot form where you'll submit your completed application. And then you'll also find all of these guidelines to be sure that your organization is eligible. And you also have here the application. And as you can see, it has the link again for you to submit. The deadline is April 23rd. And we ask that you provide us with a narrative that has the following categories in order to explain about your organization, about your program, why it's necessary, and then also the objectives. And the objectives should be stated in clear, measurable terms. So things like we will deliver 18 hours of family literacy content to at least 60 students during the 2025 grant year. And obviously, these things are flexible. So you'll just be reporting as the year goes on, how things are going, but we really like to see these clear, specific objectives. And then the program description. If you are a 2024 Family Literacy Grant recipient, we ask also that you sort of summarize the results of your program, including your goals and outcomes, any challenges that you faced, and then the projection for this coming year. And we also provide a template for the budget. You don't need to use our template. You can use your own, but I think this is a pretty good template in terms of providing, again, the specifics of your project and what the money is going to be used for. And the final section of the application is the supporting documents. And so that'll include your current operating budget, if you're a nonprofit, a copy of your tax exemption, and then any other letters of support, newspaper articles, flyers from your program. Those are optional. But if you do include them, we ask that it be limited to 3 pages. If you submit more, we'll just take sort of the first three of those. And again, this proposal is going to be submitted on jot form. I'll show you that in a moment. We ask that the application, so including the narrative and the budget, be limited to 5 pages and submitted as a PDF. And then you'll submit your supporting materials if you have them separately. So let me go over to this is the jot form where you'll be submitting your application. This is the first part is just some basics about your organization. So you can fill in those. And then at the bottom here, you'll see we have these upload boxes for your narrative and budget, for your operating budget, and then any optional materials that you would like to include. So that's sort of the basic of the application. And then we also have on the website, there's a checklist if you would like to use that, and also an FAQ page. You can also feel free to email me if you have any questions. I'll give you my information at the end. The reporting requirements, we do ask for a brief mid-year progress report. That's a little more informal, just to check in, see how things are going. And then an end of the year final report that will include your student surveys, any of the program activities, results, photos, videos, all of those things. And I can also share after this presentation the student parent survey, and that is we ask that you give this to your participants after they've completed the program. And this is just to get a better idea of what they've learned, how they're more, how they have learned how to better support their children's literacy and language development. So some of the questions include, how often are they reading at home with their children? Are there more children's books in the home? Do they feel better prepared to support their children's education? And do they feel more comfortable communicating with their children's school or teachers? Again, just to kind of gauge their involvement and if participating in the program has helped them in these areas.
And this survey, by the way, is that's an important piece because that's sort of the one common area that the one common evaluation tool that all the programs are doing together. So that's important for us to be able to report back to Kislak. So take a look at that survey if you're interested in applying, and just make sure that you think your program would align pretty well with sort of seeing favorable results on that survey, that your students are going to have access to books and be encouraged to read to their children, things of that nature, because we'd like to certainly, for a lot of reasons, to see good success with regard to those kinds of measures. So the survey is the one piece that we're asking all the programs to kind of do. That's sort of an evaluation tool. You're certainly encouraged to do other assessments as you like, and I'm sure many of you will have assessments built in terms of reading assessments and so forth, but that's the one that we'll be asking you for results on.
Yes, sorry, I momentarily lost this page. Okay, here we go.
Maybe at this time, since you're kind of coming back to that, I know we're going to be going into a little bit more here, but do we want to stop for a minute and just ask? I know we have a few programs here that have received the grant or currently receiving the grant. I see Tom and Joe, Megan. Would any of you be willing to say a few words about your experience doing family literacy and receiving this grant?
Well, I'll let Megan go first since I'm a gentleman.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we are really grateful for the support of Kislak through the Florida Literacy Coalition. We have a long-running family literacy program that's out in a rural area of our community. I mean, from the Literacy Coalition in Palm Beach County. And we actually started the program in 1992. So the Kislak Family Foundation grant has enabled us to really, I'm seeing the slide that's on right now, the project-based learning. That's what it has encouraged us and allowed us to do. So we've had it for 2 years, and it's been really exciting to get the students involved in a project. They know that this is specifically funded by somebody for this project. And so they take it really seriously. They get into different committees. The first year, they planned one of our family literacy nights. That was a huge success. And then this year, they're working on a campus beautification project. So it's been really great to have the extra support, even as a program that's been around for so long. This kind of pushes us to do things, do something a little different, add the component of the project-based learning. So it's been great for us.
Okay, thanks, Megan.
I'd like to echo that. And Joe Sinney from Learn to Read St. Johns County. And one of the things that I'm very grateful for to FLC as well as Kislak is, Greg, as you mentioned, that an essential component of the grant and the project is to have significant adult involvement. And for us, it's exactly the opposite. We do have a significant adult involvement, but we weren't really having a lot of children because we had adults in our Putnam County Palatka class, which means twice a week, having to make that Hobson's choice of, do I babysit my kids or do I take them to the class? And we're finally able to have that because our location here in St. Augustine, we serve 16 years and above. But in Palatka, we have children under 16 as well as their parents. So it's really kind of been a godsend for us. So thank you very much. and it really has worked out well. We've had a very successful family literacy night about 3 or 4 months ago, no, 5 months ago now. And we're having one tomorrow, is our second one. And we've incorporated a professor at Flagler College who's also a practicing attorney in the area of housing discrimination and immigration. And he and his assistant, who's bilingual, will be giving a presentation in addition to the meal and the family literacy issues that are going to be addressed tomorrow. So it's worked out really well. It's always greatly attended. We have a lot of parents with, as you indicated, a lot of mothers with their kids. Being partners with the Putnam County Schools has worked out too, because they have a lot of resources available because they're concentrating in the migrant population. So it's just really worked out fantastically. So thank you very much.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Joe.
Mhm.
And you make an excellent point. I mean, different programs are coming at this from different perspectives. Learn to Read is, an adult literacy program, and some programs might be coming at it more, from a children's education and literacy perspective. So this kind of program does really lend itself sometimes to interesting partnerships and collaborations. If you're on the adult side, maybe reaching out to Head Start or VPK or Title I schools and these kinds of things, or vice versa. So there's lots of room. If you don't feel you have expertise on both sides of the equation, we'd still encourage you to take a look at it and maybe add a partnership component to be able to strengthen some of that. So,
yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, if there are people on here that are new to this, it's certainly worth going for and applying for it, because it's a great program.
okay, very good.
I have a quick question. So I'm
Sure.
Chawei Fame. I am an occupational therapist and also a faculty teaching at Evan Health University. Just after listening to your sharing, we had a free clinic in a Popka area, and then we provide free service to people with low income or they already capped with their insurance. So they receive free occupational therapists, physical therapists, and we also not have nursing faculty and student there. I was wondering if this specific grant will need to focus on the kids population, or can we do the family literacy for the patient and their caregiver? Will that count as they qualify or eligible, or as kids will be the focus?
Well, we haven't had anybody from a health provider do this. I'm not saying it couldn't be doable. We do have a health literacy grant that probably would be a little bit better fit, perhaps, that we offer. And that grant opportunity is, help me out, Dan, that's just wrapping up, right? We just finished that up, right? Did we, we just closed that out, yeah. We got several irons in the fire here. So, but what this is all about is parents and children kind of in a program together, or caregivers and children in a program together. And if you have that kind of vision for what you're doing, there certainly could be a health component to it, but it really is, it's not something that's traditionally done in a clinic setting. So we'd be happy to talk with you a little offline to see if, because we don't want you to go through the effort of doing this, writing this up. But that's why we do these sessions, to try to provide some clarity on this. Are you looking to do classes that would involve some sort of adult basic education, literacy, ESL, or something like that component for the adults?
We have the routine educational classes. It's more focused on health literacy, of course, teaching the patient like healthy living style, like eating habits or how they exercise. That it's more about like health literacy, but we do include the patients and their caregivers and the family member, that just to support the overall, that they have the support that to learn how to interpret the health condition and how to apply it to their situation, but not specific for the children. It's mostly adults and the senior and their spouse and caregivers.
Okay, so that
Would that
probably
be counted as a class?
Yeah, that probably would be a bit of better focus for the family literacy grants we have to offer. But those, even those would have to include some sort of adult basic education, English or something like that component. But if your vision is not to involve children, then this is probably not the best fit, because this is family literacy and would involve children. Most of the programs are focused on parents and children that are preschool or early elementary school. We don't say that has to be the case, but that's the general trend, that they're younger children.
Okay, thank you. So I'll go back to check that if you have further like a health literacy specific grant.
Okay, sounds
Thank
good.
you.
You know, Greg, Literacy Council Sarasota is a second-year grantee, and again, like everybody else, very appreciative of this opportunity. It really helped sort of put in the final piece for us a couple of years ago. We've been wanting to launch a family literacy program for some time, and of course, it's a piece of the overall puzzle, right, of putting your program together. And so it's been great. I think our first year we started with like maybe 40 families, and the overall, project, not just, for this, not just tagged just to this funding, but the overall program. And this is a key piece to it. And now I think we were up to like double that now. We're up to 80 or 90 families. Well, it's popular because what we've done is to take funding like this, and most of the ESL classes for the parents is online, so they don't really get a chance to get together. And so we've done a kickoff this past year with like a carnival kickoff to sort of the online community, because we do work, like you're mentioning, with elementary schools almost exclusively, or a Head Start program, Children First locally here in Sarasota County. And we get them all together because they're dispersed across the whole community, right? They're not just from one school or just from Children First. They all come together, and we're sort of developing an online family community where they get together. We did a kickoff carnival event, which was a lot of fun, and got a lot of volunteers in the community to come. Board members came and helped with it. And then we send out packets of books, every month. That's also in line with what they're learning in school. So there's more books in the home, and then lots and lots of field trips. Again, to get the families together so they feel like they're really part of an online community. And as we know, one of the biggest motivations for someone, a family, parent, an adult, to learn English is it's family related, with their kids, or it's job related. And so this has been really a great opportunity, and we're very much appreciative that you're putting so much time and effort with the Kislak Family Foundation, and we'll be applying again.
Okay, great. Glad to hear that, Tom. Thank you for sharing. And when you have a program that's the size of what you're doing and growing significantly, which is great to hear, we certainly recognize that the $10,000 is not going to cover the whole thing. But if this is a part of the financial, your funding picture, I do personally, just having run literacy programs before, I do think that raising dollars for family literacy is one of the easy, I shouldn't say easy, none of it's easy, but it appeals to certain folks. And so you can sometimes leverage a grant like this to get some additional support to be able to do things that go beyond what you'd be able to do with the $10,000 provided through this, because it's a multifaceted program. There's different elements to it. It's not, these are not inexpensive programs to run, but they can definitely be very impactful. That's for sure. So thanks for sharing that, Megan and Tom and Joe. We really appreciate your insights. So I'm going to pass it back over to Dana here to talk a little bit about project-based learning.
Thank you. Yes. So another key component and requirement for this grant is the project-based learning. And the whole idea behind project-based learning is to give the students, the families, an opportunity to take what they've learned in the programs and then apply it in a realistic situation in their everyday life in order to accomplish the project goals. So as Megan mentioned, one of the things that has been great to see out of these programs is to plan and execute their own family literacy night. We have another organization that does a community garden. As Tom mentioned, organizing field trips to go to the museum or the circus, or even going to the library, having a field trip to get everybody a library card, those kinds of things. So that'll be a key component of your application, and then the program throughout the year will be this project-based learning. We also have this link here that has more ideas about project-based learning. And then also, again, feel free to email us if you have a question about would this count as project-based learning, or to kind of workshop an idea. Ultimately, the project-based learning should come from the students. So definitely you can, as a program, you can sort of suggest, give ideas, but ultimately it should be something that the families and the parents would like to organize and execute themselves. So FLC will support grantees. We have quarterly informational conference calls and webinars, and that's a good way for everyone to kind of check in and then also discuss if there's been any challenges in regards to their programs. How can we help support from FLC, but then also from the other grantees. We also provide some professional development opportunities and then resource sharing through our website. We'd also like to put in a plug for our literacy conference that's going to be this year, May 13th to the 15th at the Shores Resort in Daytona Beach. That'll also be a great opportunity to meet with other organizations for professional development. And we have here our our conference webpage. So you can go and learn more about that. I believe our early bird registration ends tomorrow, so there's still time to register for that special rate before tomorrow. And then was there anything else, Greg, you wanted to mention about the conference?
Oh, hope that folks come out. We'll have we have various tracks, and we'll have some sessions on family literacy and adult education literacy, ESL. There's a lot of different kinds of things, a lot of different kinds of sessions that'll be offered. And if you go to our website, you can see a preliminary list of the session titles and presenters. And we're kind of be adding to that a little bit, but we have a really strong program, I think, this year, and we'd love to have you come out and join us.
And another sort of opportunity to learn more about family literacy programs. We have a two-part series that is on our YouTube page. Ideas about how to get a program up and running. We also have a list of family literacy resources on our Florida Literacy webpage. So I will share this presentation afterwards so that you have access to all of these links. And then again, any questions? We have a few minutes now to answer questions. And then also feel free to email me if you have any questions as you're going through the application process.
Yeah. And I think I think we could probably go ahead and can we post the slides in the chat as well here?
Yes, yes.
I think I might be able. So any questions, any other questions that folks have?
So for the health literacy grant, typically that's announced and that's recognized in the opening session, at the conference. Will you have the family and the family literacy grants here? What they're due April 23rd?
Yeah, so we won't have time.
You'll be announcing it.
Yeah.
And if you have time.
I think I knew where you were going. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but
you know where I was going, Greg. So.
Yeah, we won't. The announcements on these will be done after the conference. It's going to be a little tight, and we wouldn't be really able to do that. We wanted to give people sufficient time to respond to this, and we had just gotten word not too long ago on the renewal. So, and it's actually consistent with what we did last time. I think we did later May announcements. So, so we have a independent review committee that takes a look at or makes the selection on these, and so and it's in our application. Dana, was it, I think, notification late May was I think it was, something like that. Yeah, with the idea that you'd start potentially in June. I know a lot of programs don't start right in June. They kind of use the first few months as planning and kind of start maybe later summer, early fall. You know, that's really up to you all to do however you want. But yeah, that's the timetable we're looking at.
Thank you.
And it looks like Dana just thank you, Dana, for uploading the slides there. So that has all the links in it and whatnot. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. Appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and post this video to our